We are talking about math boards today. And so we're going to talk about all the different expressions ones. I'm going to give you some examples for every grade level about how we're going to use them, why I prefer them over notebooks, all sorts of just fun stuff today. So as you're coming in, let me know you're here. Let us know where you're from, something you did fun for summer today. And then also, are you using the boards? Like, do you normally use them? Do you not use them? I would say that most classrooms I'm in don't use them. They oftentimes use their own like short, small version of the whiteboard just because it fits in student desks so much easier, but we don't actually want that. So the short ones, there's a time and a place for those. We'll talk about that tonight. But really the math expressions boards, there are some really good reasons to have those out and to have those be the main boards that your students use. So let me know, friends, that you're here and that we're okay, because I'm not seeing all of our friends here, and hopefully we're just all okay there. I'm going to bring up our other screen. Tell us we're good. Okay, so our math boards are going to look something like this. So it depends on what grade you're in as to what board you're going to use. So if I come over here, let me change my screen, and I want you to see this. So give me just a second. We will get all the right boards here. Hold on just a second, friends. There we go. Maybe that's a little bit better. Okay, so what I want you to see, and maybe, nope, that's not the one we want. We want this one. Hold on, friends. I got to get the right screen up here. We're not on the right screen. Hold on. There we go. All right, this is the one we want. Okay, so as you're coming in, let me know you're here, but here's what we want. These boards that you're looking at right here, these are all the different boards that you can be using or that you have for your grade levels. So there's a couple things to notice. Notice that on the left is the kindergarten board. Okay, so if you are in the 2018 copyright, national or Common Core version, your kinders now have a board, and they didn't used to. And so that's what this will look like, is they have a kindergarten whiteboard that just sits in their math tray. Then you have grades 1 and 2, and I'm going to show you all of these much more close up, and I'm going to show you activities for each one. But you just need to know that you have the right board, because so many times I work with teachers who actually got the wrong boards. And it wasn't that they were sent the wrong ones, it's that they all arrive, you know, in your library, and your whoever, instructional coach or whoever it is that hands them out, they're just not identified, they're not marked. And so, especially in the older versions of math expressions, they weren't marked at all. So people just didn't know which ones they got, and so they just started handing them out. So you want to make sure that you have your specific boards for your grade level. So if you look here, you have grades 1 and 2. They're the same. They have the number path on the outside. They have the inch grid here, and then they have the dot array. We'll talk about why they need that. Grade 3, you have the number path, and then you have a dot array on the back for multiplication. Grade 4 is the same, but you have tinier dots, which I'm going to show you a closer up version of that because you do double digit multiplication. And then grade 5, you have a decimal bar, fraction bars. And then grade 6, you have a unit ratio table and graphing for all your different graphing needs, coordinate grids, line plots, so on and so forth. So you have a lot to do with ratios and proportions, and then of course your coordinate grid quadrant work. Okay, so that's the big gist of the differences between the different boards. But what I want to show you is all the different ways you're going to access these. So two things. If you've been in expressions for a long time, you have a hard board. So they used to make them out of wood. I'm super sad that they no longer do that because these are definitely a better product. But now they give you these ones, and they're a little more flimsy, which makes it harder to use them right on carpet and whatnot. But I know they're big, okay, but they are really important. I'm going to give you these 3 reasons before I give you the examples for each of the boards, okay? So number 1, the reason you want to use a math board is it promotes risk-taking, right? So what I mean by that is what we found through lots of different research is that when students are trying out a concept for the first time, if I said, boys and girls, I want you to show me 3 times 1/3, and they've never seen that before in their whole life. They've seen whole numbers, they've seen fractions, they've seen multiplication, they've just never seen it together. And so I ask them that question, and I want them just to show me how they think they might be able to figure it out, right? I have kids that will, in general, try something if it's on the whiteboard versus when it's in their notebook, it's in their workbook. There's something that's really interesting that the kids feel like it's permanent, like it can't change, or that it has to be right the first time. So you'll actually get more kids to take risks when they know there's this erasable feature. Like, I can try something and I can revise my thinking and try again. Okay, so the boards really do promote that. Now, I like to use the boards for that inquiry phase. Remember, there's that 4 phases in expressions where students just try something on their own. Then I collect the boards and I kind of what I call orchestrating the discussion. I build the concept from what students put on their whiteboards. Okay, so in just a little over a week, I'm going to be opening up my course on that. So if you're like, what does that mean? I'm doing a whole course on how to transform your lesson plans using whiteboards. Okay, so the idea is that even if I'm in first grade, I might say, oh, it's so interesting today, friends. I have this new number for you, and maybe on the board I write 62. And I say, friends, I want you to show me how, I'm not going to even say the number, and I'm just going to say, I want you to show me 3 different ways you can show me how to make this number. Okay, go ahead. Or 18 and 81, maybe the pesky pairs, or 9 times 9 in 3rd grade. Okay, I'm going to launch with something that I know is the teaching for the day, right? But I want to see what kids will naturally do with it without just being told. That's the whole point of inquiry-based instruction. Well, they're going to do it on their whiteboard. And I'm going to walk around and be able to see the different ideas that are emerging, right? So it's going to promote risk-taking, but then on the same note, it's going to provide scaffolds. And this is a really important one. This is why you don't want to just substitute any old whiteboard, because you could just use, you know, your small ones that fit in their desk so nicely, but we don't want to do that because of all the tools that each grade level has on their board, and they're very specific. So, for example, in 3rd grade, and let me see if I have a pen here that we can use on this. In 3rd grade, we do multiplication, and the way we learn multiplication is by our count bys. So another word for multiples, right? So if I'm doing 3s, I would circle a group of 3, I say 3. I'd circle another group of 3, I say 6. And I'm going to do that, oh, you can't see that, I'm going to do that all the way around my board, okay? Well, what happened was I was doing story problems with a 3rd grade group of kids, and their teacher was not making them use their math expressions board. In fact, they never used them because she just thought they were too big and cumbersome, which I kind of agree they are, right? But they were worthwhile because now she has this big gap in her kids. She has some kids that when we did the story problem understood enough division to try to attack the problem. She had other kids that were really lacking some multiplication and division skills, so now she was, trying to make the point, see, this is too hard for them, I need to pull them into a small group, I have to show them what to do, blah, blah. I'm like, no, you don't, just give them the math expressions board. The moment we gave them this board, I said to the kids, I said, so try to use the outside to help you solve this. Instantly, kids had something that they could contribute to the problem. They had a way of figuring it out. So yes, do I want them to have more sophisticated ways once I get to double digits? Yes. Okay, but until then, this will help them. Okay, so I'm going to show you, I can use it for rounding, I can use it for comparing, I'm going to use it for a million things, but it's going to provide that scaffolded approach. Okay, it's also going to push for multiple representations, because now kids have, not only can they show me using their number path, they can show me using the back of their board. So if I were in double digit multiplication, I would use the back. I'm going to show you that. Okay, versus me just saying, show me how to solve, 13 plus 26, and kids will do it maybe just one way. But if I said, and you have to use both sides of your board, all of a sudden they're using representations they never even thought of before. They're thinking critically about the different ways we can solve this, and then kids that need the supports, they have them. Okay, so I'm extending the learning for kids that want to just do an algorithm, and I'm scaffolding the learning for kids that need to think about it with a scaffolded approach. All right, the last one here is lots of space, okay, which is obvious. It's a much bigger board, and so now I have room to show all my different ideas and my different thinkings. Okay, so I'm going to go through those now, but let's just check in and see who's here. Oh, well, good, we have lots of good friends. Hi, everyone. Yeah, so Christina says, I make photocopies of the whiteboard image and use that. And then they have the papers to glue into their notebooks. That's a great idea. So that's a good transition for me, Christina, is the whiteboards are to build understanding. The notebooks, the student activity book, that's for cementing our understanding. So when I'm just trying to get kids to try ideas and we're trying to explore the various ways we might do that and think through, the whiteboard is their rough draft. It's let's just keep trying this. We'll get there. And we're discussing it, and we're having lots of math talk. And then when I'm like, okay, I think let's anchor our learning, right? When we're ready to anchor our learning, now I'm going to take them into my notebook. So that would be a great place that Christina's copying it and putting it in her notebook. She can make a photocopy of the whiteboard. It's in the teacher resource book. It's also linked in the Unit 1 plans that I gave you all for the fall. I gave everyone a grade K6 unit plan of all the materials to put into an at-home kit or an at-school kit, and one of them is your math expressions whiteboard. Both sides, you can copy it, a blackline master, put it in a plastic sleeve, and now you have one for at home, but also you could put it like in a notebook. And now we can say, okay, now let's anchor our learning. Let's talk about the 3 ways we know how to round numbers, and I want you to put it in your notebook for notes for later. Okay, so the whiteboard is to build instruction as we go. So to that note, if you look here, Renee, hi Lori, I'm glad you're here. Julie's here too, hooray. Hi Becky, Stephanie, Deanna, hello, hi Sherry. Okay, so I'm in Think Central. Okay, when I'm in Think Central, if you're in the 2018 copyright, you get the math board in your iTools. Okay, so I'm circling it here. You can see there's an iTool icon. In the iTools, under the 2018 copyright, you get your math board that's right here. Okay, so I click my math board, and there I have it. I have the front and I have the back, but I also have some other tools. If I go to the front again, I can, do my math drawings, my tiny tumblers, or whatever that looks like. So I have it in my iTools, every grade, if you're in 2018. If you're not in 2018, if you were in 2013, and I believe 2015 also, so California Friends, you're 2015, you have one of your icons here. It's not listed here because I'm in the 2018 version right now, but you can click on the interactive whiteboard tools, and I'm going to show you what those look like. So if you watched my video before on the interactive whiteboard tools, they look like this once you get there. Okay, so this is the interactive whiteboard tools. The only thing you need is a Promethean license on your computer. You don't have to have a live board, you don't have to have an active board or a smart board, you don't have to have any of that. So if I'm teaching remotely this fall, or I'm teaching in my classroom, this is absolutely the one to be projecting to the board. Okay, under my projector or whatever I have. When you go to download it, so again, in my unit plans that I made you all, I gave you a link to the grade level one. So even if you're like 2018, but I'm about to show you these, and you're like, oh, I like those better, you can still get them. I gave you a link to them. Disclaimer, Houghton Mifflin no longer supports these whiteboards. Okay, so as far as the Active Inspire ones, these digital ones. So if you have any technology issues using it, they're not going to help you out with it. Okay, so you just need, though, a personal license. All the directions are in my Unit 1 guides that you can search the group for. If you can't find it, post it here and I'll link it for you. Okay, but in here, here's what you have. Every one of these grade levels has a model screen that looks like this. So I am in kindergarten. All right, let's start with kindergarten. So kindergarten, you don't have a whiteboard but you can use tiny tumblers. I don't really like it, neither does Dr. Fusen. She wasn't really a fan of it. I don't know why they put the tiny tumbler math mountains on there, but if I were to look at your smart board, it looks like this. Oh, your math board, let's try again. Okay, you have the number path, and you can't see that, but you can now. Okay, so kindergarten, here's what you have. I hope you were seeing that. I don't know if you were. Number path right here, yellow. Okay, so you have your yellow number path. So the idea is that as your kids are using their purple counters, they're putting them up here to match this number path. So in the beginning, your kids are definitely doing a matching game because they're not sure what number order they go in. So you're going to do the counting that with this. In kindergarten, your tray or your whiteboard fits in the bottom of your tray. So in kindergarten, they have these like lunch trays, right, for all their manipulatives. Kindergarten, this math board fits in there. Okay, so I'm not going to say too much about the kindergarten board because it's brand new and it's only there, I think, as an extension as you go through the math year. Right now it's just for matching, okay, but as you get going, it would be like a student uses all their tiles, and so I'm going to come back here, give me just a second. So they might say, oh, I want you to build 15, or no, 13, we'll go there. Okay, I want you to build 13. So they build their 13, and then I said, well, how would you build it? And they're like, I did 2 5s and I did 3 1s. Okay, that might just be what they do. So now I have a kinder who's ready to start writing equations. On his math board, of course, he can take, I went too fast there, he can take his pen and he can write the equation. 10 plus 3 equals 13. So if the math board is in their tray, they're all set, right? So kindergarten, there's not a whole lot for me to say about your whiteboard. One, because they're new, and two, because kinder's not going to do a lot with them in the first semester. You're going to do a lot more in the second. Okay, so let's go to, let's see what grade I have next. First grade. Okay, so first grade, your board is going to be exactly like second grade. So I'll do first and second together here. You guys have over here on the right, here's your tools. Okay, you're gonna have this. Oh, I clicked grade. Just like that's fifth grade. Here we go. Try again. Here is first and second. Okay, so you are going to play so many games and do so many things on this number path. I want to remind you that a number path is different than a number line. A number line counts tick marks, or a number line counts spaces, whereas a lot of our kids make the mistake and count the tick marks. So National Council of Research says no number lines until at least second grade, and that's why everything is a number path. Every number has its own box, okay? So when I'm on here, I'm going to do things like, well, can you show me how to make the number 62? And kids can start to do 10, 20, 30, 40, count how many 10s are in that number. I'm going to say, I want you to add, let's just say I want you to add, oh, that's not the eraser. There we go. I want you to add, I don't know, 10 plus 14 or something like that. They can go to 10, then they can circle 14 more, and they'd get their answer. So this is going to help them as one of the representations, but they're going to use it for, I mean, what number is closer? I want you to compare the number 41 and the number 60. Which one's greater, which one's less? How do you know? Well, 60, I go further on the number path, right? 40 only has 4 10s, but when I got to 60, I had 6 10s. So it's going to help with that number sense on the front side. Then you get the back, okay? So now if I'm on the back of the board, again, I'm in the Promethean file, okay? And if you need a link to how to get there, just tell me in the comments, okay? And I will get it to you after I'm done here. But you would have, the kids would have their own boards, all right? Oh, I'm like losing stuff here. Where did it go? Did I close it? Because that'd be super sad. All right, let's bring this back. All right, my friends, I just closed it. Who does that? I do. All right, grade. Let's bring it back. Thanks for your patience. Let's check in, everyone. How's it going? Hi, Stacy. Glad to see you. Hi, Carla. Hi, Christy. Everything's loading again. I'm sorry, guys. I lost it. Leave it to Shannon to log out. All right, it's coming. There we go. Okay, so let's come back. Here we go. All right, so keep with me. All right, I've got grade 1. Here we go. Here we go. I'm going to turn this around. So over here I have a blue dot. I click that around. Can you see how this would be helpful if you're in different grade? Goodness gracious, Shannon Giebler. There we go. No. Well, you just keep holding on because we're going to get there. Hold on. Grade 1, grade 3. There we go. Okay. So on the back then, you have these inch grids. Okay. Now this is important because guess what you have first grade? You have stair steps, right? And your stair steps in Unit 1, you're going to use these a ton. And kids are going to compare numbers. Well, this is the beginning of a comparison bar, first grade. And then second grade, you're going to do the exact same thing. So when it comes to your math board, when you turn it around, they're going to be able to use this to count. They're going to use it to count to 100. They're going to have to show me 64, and it's amazing. If you don't tell kids what to do, the things they'll do. Some kids will use the other side, and they'll use the number path. Some kids will do proof drawings. Some kids will literally count to like this. Okay, other kids, when I say compare the number 9 to the number 7, right? And then they'll actually like write their numbers in here. My mouse writing is super awesome. I hope you're enjoying it. And then they'll compare 9 to 7, right? So it doesn't seem like a big deal, my friends, but it is a big deal that they use this side of the board. And then they'll start to do it. Notice it's just a graph. It's just like the comparison bars. Now I don't have to write my numbers. I can just do this, and this is the difference between the two. Do you see how it's a comparison bar, friends? Then over here, these dot arrays, this is how we learn a 10 stick. I'm going to say I want you to circle 10 ones, and they circle 10 ones, just like they did in kindergarten. They do 10 ones, 10 ones, 10 ones, 10 ones. Boys and girls draw a line through it. Now we have a 10 stick. I want you to do that 10 times. When they do that 10 times, of course, they're going to fill out all of these much better than I just did. And I'm going to say, well, how much is that? And they're going to say, it's like 100. I'm like, right. What shape is it in? It's in a box. That is the quick drawing for 100. Okay, so when I start to add numbers, it's not just about 26 in like second grade, 26 plus 13, right? I can do an algorithm for that, but I can also show you on the dot array. I can also show you using the inch grid. I can also show you using the number path. Look at all of these ways a student could represent this addition equation just because they use the math board. And on that note, quickly before I get to my other grade levels here, is I can't tell you how many classrooms I've been in where I'm watching kids and just observing what they think, what they do, how they're learning, and they are searching for help. They like 36, and I see them like looking in the room for something. They can't remember what that number looks like. What does that number look like again? And if they have their number path in front of them, they remember. Okay, so these math boards really are a way to give kids equal access to mathematics because of all the tools involved, and it stretches their thinking. Because I'm going to say to them, boys and girls, your problem today is 26 plus 13. You need to show me 3 ways you can solve that problem, and at least one of them has to use the back of the board. And watch what they come up with. Without you telling them, the things they're going to come up with will blow your mind, and then you're going to really build number sense. Okay, so let me stop for a minute and just see how everyone's doing. I'd love to hear. Hey, Mona, glad to see you in the group. Angie, hi. Angie, you still need the Promethean license. You get the Promethean boards, okay? The Active Inspire boards are an icon on your dashboard in Think Central. But to open the file, you would choose the Promethean version because you can do a personal use license, okay? Which I think you would want. If you have a smart board, you'll use the smart board license. I just think that what's happened with the smart board is the smart board technology has outdated the Houghton Mifflin products and it hasn't kept up to date. So sometimes these tools don't work if you use a smart. So I don't have a smart board or anything here in my office. I just have downloaded the Promethean, a free version of Promethean. I use a personal use. I don't use, that's like it's called, download a personal use. And then that allows me to open these documents. Okay? All right. We're okay? Everyone's doing okay? Hopefully we are. Yes, I will send the link, guys. I will put the link in here for Promethean. Again, if you downloaded the Unit 1 guides I sent out for materials for Unit 1, like all the social distancing kits and whatnot, I linked all the Promethean, the directions on how to do it, and your grade level file. Okay, let's go to another grade. You're gonna love it. Okay, 3rd grade. Remind myself, don't log out. Okay, 3rd grade. Look what you got. Woohoo! Okay, here's your whiteboard, 3rd grade. You teach multiplication on this whiteboard. This is how you do it for every single new factor. Okay, so I was showing you before. Group of 3, 3. Another group of 3, 6. This is teaching them that multiplication is equal groups. It is repeated addition. 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. They're going to do it for every factor, and then they're going to see all the different patterns. And they're going to say out loud, one group of 3 is 3. And then they write it. 3 equals one group of 3. Okay, 6 equals 2 groups of 3. And they're going to keep doing that, for, ignore the bad writing right now, all the way around the board. Okay, so this board is going to be used exclusively in Unit 1 and 2, and then after Unit 1 and 2, don't get rid of the boards. When you get rid of the boards, you take away their scaffold, you take away their anchors. Right? So now we're into harder numbers and we're into division and we're doing all of these things, and they should have their facts, but they're not going to, at least till the end of the year. They need the board to remind them. Okay? And they're going to use it over and over and over again. Then they have the back of the board is where we introduce the array. Okay? So they're going to use this in every group of little circles. You can see these little circles right here. Okay? This is for a group of 10. So between open circle and open circle, that's a group of 10. Okay, so I'm going to go, and maybe I go 3. 1, 2, 3. I don't count dots, I count spaces. Okay, and if I were to make this, and I were to connect all of these dots, the area is the space inside, and it's directly related to multiplication, and it is a major standard in 3rd grade. Okay, so if I were to go and count every single one of these squares, I would get the answer to 3 times 30. When we get to 4th grade, we'll really work on the distributive property. You do a little bit in 3rd grade, but this is the concrete example of how it works. Guys, do not skip the back of the boards. Don't skip it. Okay? It is how we build foundational understanding. I don't need to use blocks. I could to do an area model like square tiles. And if I'm not going to do square tiles, my next step is a representation that shows the full quantity. That's the point, is this board is showing all of the quantity. I'm not saying 3 times 30, right, or 3 times 13 or whatever. I'm not going to give the answer just because I know how to break apart the number, or I know an algorithm. I can see how it actually does represent all of those squares inside. That is building good, deep understanding. So the back of the board is on purpose, and it is foundational for 3rd and 4th graders. So we don't want to skip it. So that's just a few of the ways you're going to use this math board. And then, of course, we take away the scaffold once kids believe us that there's really that many squares there. And then they go to the front of the board, and now we say, so we don't have to draw it with the dots anymore. Could we make a rectangle that represents 3 times 30? Well, sure. We don't have to have the lines anymore because we've done that so many times. I believe you when you say that there is a group of 10 and a group of 10 and a group of 10, and now I have 3 times 10 and I have 3 times 10. Okay? So that's the point of this board, is we scaffold them to this. So in 1st and 2nd grade, remember we scaffolded them to this. So if I'm over here, they're building numbers. Some of those kids do not believe me that a 10 stick has 10 ones in it. If they don't believe me, guess what? They're circling 10 ones every single stinking time and doing a 10 stick every single time until every time I say, friends, how do you know that's a 10? He says, 'cause it has 10 ones. If he doesn't know that, he doesn't get to go to the shortcut, right? The shortcut is, well, couldn't we just, you guys, draw a 10 stick and say that's 10 ones? I can circle 10 here, 10, 10, do a 10 stick. But if kids never have this experience, they believe you this is 10 because you told them, not because they understand. Like, I don't know, the lady just said it was worth 10. No, it's worth 10 because it's 10 ones, right? Same thing for 100. If you just say that's 100, they're just going to believe you. They have to have the other side of the board as their experience. So on the other side, they actually build 100, those sweet little friends, okay, all the way down. Then you get to 4th grade. I know, I'm coasting here. Are we doing all right? Angie Muckeltio needs a Promethean license. I don't know, your district is different about how they handle, oh no, you guys have Prometheans, don't you? Boards in your room? I can't remember, Angie. Let me know. I will have to check that for you, Angie. I'm not sure. Okay, keep going. So now we get to 4th grade. 4th grade, you're notorious for skipping the back of the board. Stop it. Stop skipping it. Okay, this is double-digit multiplication. So if I say, again, I go 10, 10, 50, let's say 20, 30, 40, 50. I'm using my dots, my open dots as my guidelines. No way are we going to count all of those. But if we were to actually have them, those first few lessons, actually connect all of these dots and make all of those little squares, right? Because area is the squares inside. Go with me on this. This is a horrible drawing. You're going to go with me. If I go here, though, right, and I actually connect them, kids are realizing there really are that many squares inside of there. You better believe there are, right? And so now I go, this is 50. I don't know what I did, 10, 20, 30, let's say I did 32 over here. 32, I don't like that number, but I like 30, and I like 2. Can I split it? Now I have the distributive property. This is the foundation before I let them go to the other side, and now I actually draw a modified area model where I can just label it 50 and 32. I don't like 32, but I just like 30. There's 30, there's 2, and I'll be okay with 50. Or I could split 50, 25 and 25. Okay, so this is the area model that we teach in 4th grade. It's a part of your standards. You don't get a choice. You don't get to opt out of it. It is a part of the standards, but we can't just go to the abstract, because guess what? When I go to the abstract and I teach them just this, first, I'm teaching them a trick. It's just a graphic organizer. Plug in the numbers, everybody. I said, well, why did you do 32 like that? They're like, well, because that's how you do it. No, it could say, because this side length is 32 by 50, and I'm counting, trying to figure out the total area of this box, this rectangle. That's what I'm actually doing. We don't want to lose sight of what really matters. Okay? The number path they're going to use in 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade for rounding. So when I say to you, friends, would you round the number 87? I said, what's the closest 10? And kids are saying, oh, you just underline the 8, you go next door. Stop that, guys. Stop doing that. No, that's a trick. How do I know that 87 actually rounds to 90? And I'll say, I want you to prove it 2 ways on your board. If I do 2 ways on my board, I'm going to get kids to really start thinking critically about how to represent this understanding. It's not a trick, okay? So if I go to 87 and I put what is the closest 10, the 90 is the closest 10 here, the 80 is the closest 10 here. What is 87 closer to? Well, it's 3 steps to 90, it's 7 steps to 80. That's a great defense. Prove it another way. And now I can use the number path to help me with that. I can use the number path for helping with my multiplication. So when I'm in 5th grade and 4th grade, those kids still don't have their facts, let's just be honest, okay? So I don't want to take away their tools, but I also don't want them always relying on a multiplication chart. So I can have them go back to, remember, you know how to figure it out. Do 3 groups of 6. What do you land on? Okay, this is the scaffolded approach. All right, we got 5th grade and 6th grade. Everyone okay with me? Let's hang in there. Put in the comments right now one thing you've learned about your grade level math board that you're like, I didn't know I could do that, or I'm a little bit guilty of not doing that. Okay, so I know it's easier to think you want a regular whiteboard, but I hope you're seeing all the ways that this board is going to be your best friend. Okay, I'm going to show you 2 more grade levels, but first you're going to put in the comments something you've learned you're walking away with, okay? And then I'm going to take us to 5th grade, which is just 5th grade's like one of my favorites. It's spectacular. I have no life when I think a 5th grade whiteboard is like the best thing I've come across. All right. Oh, hi, Terrell. Good to see you. I hope you're great. All right. Here I have the 5th grade whiteboard. Yeah, rounding is so good, Christina. I got to tell you, so fantastic. So here's the math board for 5th grade. Now, 6th grade, you should use this. And 4th grade, if I were you, I would go to the files that I sent for Unit 1 and go get the 5th grade board for your 4th graders for your fraction unit. I absolutely think that anyone who teaches fractions, in fact, even 3rd grade, you could go get the back of the 5th grade board to help you during your fraction unit. The top of the board right here has a decimal grid. Okay, it's a hundredths bar, and the back of the board has your fraction bars. So I am going to use this to compare fractions. I'm going to use this to do unit fractions. 1/4 plus 1/4, right, equals 2/4. I can do addition, subtraction. I can even do multiplication on this. I can find equivalent fractions. How do I get 5ths and, those are bad examples, 6ths and 8ths to line up? What do I have to do to my 6ths and what do I have to do to my 8ths? My 8ths I have to actually divide into 6. Okay, I'm not going to show you how to do that right now, but the whole point, we call this end splitting, and they have to keep doing it till they can get the fractions to line up, right? But this is a great scaffold, and they're going to use it a ton in 5th grade, or at least they should. But you can do all fraction work on this side of the board. I really love it because kids aren't, I mean, they need to learn how to draw their own fraction bars, but they're not spending all of their time drawing a stinking fraction bar and trying to figure out how to get sevenths. Okay, so this is a helpful, when I'm learning a concept, I don't want all of my eggs in the how to make it basket, right? I want them focusing on the mathematics and not worrying about recreating it, which is why it's so valuable for some of our kids with IEPs and some other needs. It's too much for them to have to recreate some of these tools, so I'm going to give it to them with this whiteboard. I am going to show you on the other side, though, when I get to this, you'll love this one, okay? So now I'm with the decimal bar, and I want them to know, see, oh, I'm just going to use my other tool over here. I'm going to get money. Money, money, money. Okay, so tenth, right? There's 10 in a dollar. Go over here. Go to my front side of my math board. Okay, I want you to label or find out how many, let's say, squares are in this bar. I'm just going to let them count. You're right. I'm going to waste a lot of time on that. And you're right. It's totally worth it. And they're going to figure out there's 100. How did you know? Some kids are going to say, well, that's easy. I figured out that from here to here there's 10, and then I noticed there was a really dark line, and so I kept checking, and that's the case all the way. So there were 10 tens in this, so I easily knew it was 100. Oh, that's fantastic. How else did you know? And Johnny's like, oh, I counted all the squares. Great, Johnny. How long did that take you? He's like, forever. I'm like, yep. So do you think you can count my tens next? Yes, of course. So here's what I have. This is a tenth. Okay, it's worth a dime. There's my dime. It's worth 1 out of 10 pieces. It's worth $0 and 1 dime, which is 1/10. Or it's worth 10 cents, 10 hundredths, because there are 100 boxes here, and I have 10 of them. So it's like saying 10 1/100ths, which is 10 pennies. Label it. 1/10, 2/10, 0, and 2/10. And they can label it all the way. This will help them add decimals. They can circle it. 1/10 plus 2/10. What do I have? Or 2/10. There you go. 1/10 plus 2/10 equals 3/10. Notice the denominator didn't change because the size of the piece did not change. We just got more of them. Okay, so this decimal bar will help them tremendously in many, many, many different activities. Again, you take away the math board and all of a sudden kids are looking for help and they can't represent it as many ways as we want them to. Phew. All right, friends, I'm going to take you to 6th grade. 6th grade, I'm really sad. I'm sorry for you. You do not have a math board on Active Promethean, Promethean Inspire. You only have it on Think Central for 2018, and it's in your iTools, and it's here. Okay, so you're going to use your side for unit rates and proportions. So when you're trying to figure out a ratio table, that's what all of these are here. Okay, so this is all for unit rates and comparing what the formulas are. So if I had 2 cups to every 3 cups, okay, you're going to fill this out for that. You do a lot of work with coordinate grids. So you're going to use this side, the back side of the board, on the front side for that. This is the back of the board. You'll do this for multiplication and division, the coordinate or the centimeter grid here. Okay, so that one's pretty simple, 6th grade. You'll understand that more because if you do rates and ratios, rates and proportions, you'll understand the front side better. Okay, so goodness gracious, guys, wasn't that a lot? It's so good. The math board is a manipulative. It just is. It's going to help kids to share their thinking multiple ways. It's going to provide scaffolded learning. It's going to provide the conceptual, concrete level of learning. Show me what it really means. Don't